Hmm.
So interesting. So interesting. Hello, everyone, and welcome to free or what do we got calling it? Fun
Fun
Coaching Friday.
coaching Friday.
Fun Coaching Friday. We just started in with a really fascinating conversation. Like I just got some really good news about some things that are going on in my world, and I'm like now all of a sudden trying to make decisions about what I should do, what I should do, what I should do. And I just realized as you were said, well, just why don't you just allow this to wash over you for a hot minute? Just let it sit there and just, we tend to stew on our problems. Why not stew on your successes a little?
Hmm. Right.
And
Like don't pressure yourself to have to be doing something with all of this now. Just
mhm.
just soak it up and enjoy it. Yeah.
That's really interesting because, we dwell on our problems, we're giving them a lot of focus, we're trying to solve them. But man, when you get some good news or you have something come your way, whatever form it takes, like and my old patterns and what we were talking about before you got on the live, just to kind of give you guys a little background, is really like talking about, well, I this is happening. Well, what should I do now? And what's next? And take the, kind of like the take massive action, go, 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 right? And what if you just because and what if I'm blowing through thresholds as we were talking, because all I could think about is I don't want to do the same patternistic behavior the last time something like this happened, right? So I said, I don't want to do this like the last time that this happened. No, so I need to get all this external information. And what should I do? What should I do? Why not just sit still and allow the information to come to you instead of seeking it out?
Hmm.
I'm just blowing through my own thresholds and not giving myself permission to do something that's a little bit different than what we were taught as kids.
Yep.
We just went through this with Maverick too, incidentally. So in Bourbon, you have a Maverick persona, and he went out. Maverick, my horse, went out for his first walk outside the property since we've been at the new facility, and it was seamless, and that was the key piece, is that it needed to be seamless. Yeah, you learn through by getting uncomfortable. The lobster sheds its shell when it's uncomfortable enough that it needs to molt, right?
Hmm.
And the problem is that when we make change, we are now new at something. And are you good at something when you're new at it, generally speaking? So we tend to shy away from it because we don't want to do something that we're not good at, because then we're molting the shell of the things that we are good as we transcend to the next level. And when you take that shell off, like the lobster, when it goes from does that, is very vulnerable. The shell is not hardened yet. And that's why how we get kind of stuck in these little paradigms of, I don't know if I want to do this, because then it's the fear of, well, if I don't do it right because I haven't learned it before, and that puts us in a vulnerable position. So we stay in our tight little shells and we're like, until we can't stand it anymore. And that's when we do things like have really radically impactful life lessons. But here's what I would encourage you to do. I would encourage you to lower your tolerance for pain, to be able to move gracefully through the transition of the molt and be vulnerable more often, because that's actually what builds the strength in you.
Hmm.
And that came from just like asking for help, like what to do with this new information, instead of making assumptions that I need to take action right away. What a concept.
I know you were really like that hit you because
It
you
did.
hadn't even thought about it. It
Like that
wasn't.
wasn't even an option until you
That's
brought it up.
right. Right. And like how funny that we do that. We can pigeonhole ourselves. Even as I've been thinking too similarly recently about the things that I'm doing and the direction that I'm going and really trying to expand my mind because I don't want to pigeonhole myself, but I also don't want to force anything that doesn't feel right.
Right.
So it really takes a whole lot of being still. And that can be challenging when there's so much that has to be done or
Yes.
should be doing but then being still to allow the messages to come through or being still with this success and allow the the value of that to sink in.
Exactly. And
So
here's something I want to be really clear while she's talking. Like when you're thinking of being still, that doesn't mean you're not doing stuff or taking some action. Okay. It doesn't mean you just go and sit on a couch and sing Kumbaya for days. It just means that you're still in the voices that are running your tapes, your voices that are running your
your
day-to-day
story.
life, your
Yeah.
conscious existence. And so when you can quiet those voices, then you can open yourself up to maybe something new, because those voices come from what you were taught as a kid, or what you learned from your parents or your grandparents, or up to 42 generations back in some cases, if you believe in that sort of thing. Which if you don't, then you'll see it when you'll see it when you believe it. And it's true when you think about what we're taught and how like ingrained we get into that, and how simple it is to just go, hey, well, have you ever considered this?
Yeah, and I think too, something that I've learned, not that I just recently learned it, but it's the weight of it is becoming more and more apparent as of recently, is connecting enough to my body to feel where those emotions are in my
Oh,
body.
yes. That's exactly it. And that's exactly what I was thinking about when you said get still. Like you think about horses, they live in a theta brainwave state. This is how it all ties. You guys, what you can learn from horses is blowing my mind even today. Because like think about it. If you're moving your emotions through your body, you're like a wild horse. They travel, 20 to sometimes 25 miles a day. But they're not galloping and sprinting that whole time. They're not doing high intensity, interval training. They're just like going and grazing and checking things out and
It's so
going.
true. And I watch them sometimes just here. I have to weigh in on that because that is so impactful right there. Because sometimes I watch them move from one area to another and they go so slow. And sometimes I think to myself, they look at them, they're not in any rush. There's no reason for them to move any faster than this. And I have found myself noticing that more and more and finding it somewhat fascinating because we're always in a rush for everything. And
Well,
they're
just like that old country song, I rush and rush until life's no fun. I'm in a hurry and I don't know why.
but
And
I
it's
love
so
that. I love what
true.
you're saying that they don't always, they're not running all day in the wild.
No.
They're probably walking 99% of that time.
Precisely. And that's when they get into everything. Like I'll look outside and be like, oh, there's Dante. And then I'm like, okay, hey, Dante's over there. And then like seemingly 10 seconds later, he's like up into something. I gotta go to like, oh my God, I got my hair soap in my hair, and he's out there, rearranging the garden. And I'm like, how did he get there so fast?
That's so true.
And I'm like, okay, well, I guarantee you, after I looked away from him, he didn't go, boom, and like gallop over there. He just kind of moseyed over there. And if you
They're
think
like
about,
little ninjas or big
they
ninjas.
are like the slowest ninja. They're like slow little ninjas. And it's so true. And we should mosey more, because moseying does not wear you out or tire you. Moseying allows you to have flow and ease and elegance in the way you walk. You see these supermodels that are like power walking down the runway. I'm like, ow. But if you go, oh, you know what? If they just strolled a little, there's just so much flow and elegance. And man, okay, if you want to go to the gym and burn the calories, fine. But you know how many calories horses burn just by walking from one place to another? Just having that just continuous flow. A lot of us have these sedentary, where we're, more of a sedentary physical lifestyle. So if that's the case, then you have to make up for it with a little bit of intentional movement and flow. Doesn't mean you got to walk a marathon every day, but I just read an article about the differences between having horses on turnout 24/7 and having them in stalls. And I have a former racehorse that if he's in a stall very long, his leg will look like this. It's like, it's called stocking up, because he's not getting the movement and the circulation of the things that he needs. That's what happens with us. We don't get the movement, the circulation of the things that we need. We're not moving that emotion through our bodies. And then we wonder why we get stuck and can't make a decision about what to do with our lives, because we get stuck in this little pattern inside a stall, working and getting stocked up and chewing on the wood and drinking and smoking and, all of these things we do because we're stuck in our stalls. And that's such a beautiful metaphor because I just had a retreat here this past weekend, right before Tony Robbins Business Mastery. And we had Dante, my Tony Robbins in horse form, had managed to open Maverick's stall about halfway. And the door was there. He had about this much space on either side, and he was kind of angled funny. But if he had lined up just straight, he'd have been clear to go, no worries. And he stood there, Maverick, stood there. The door was open. He could have gone through. He wanted to go out. There's grain and grass and hot chicks and hot chicks outside. He wants to go outside. And he's standing there, and he's trying to figure out how to go do the thing. Now, keep in mind, he was recently, he was almost 11, and he spent a lot of years being told what to think, not how to think. And they just basically take those horses, the ones that won't get into the starting gates, and they basically just pick them up by their butts underneath it. Two grown men will get it looks like a little infinity sign thing, handles on each side, like a dog toy, like those dog toy pull toys. And they put her behind the horse's butt and basically pick them up and scoop them in and slam the doors behind him and then whip them around a track for as fast as they'll go. No wonder he doesn't want to go through a small space, right? So I'm sitting there watching this, and we sat there and just did the whole Ho'oponopono prayer with him, and and this threshold that he had made for himself based on his past experiences. And that was exactly what I was doing with my stuff. It's like, what should I do? 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 Well, there's a door open right here. I'm like, oh, there's a door open, but I'm so caught up on momentum of going, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? There's no way I would slam into the door if I tried to get off the carousel that fast when I'm stuck in my head. So you got to slow the momentum down and get still. So you can see the doors that are open. You can see the opportunities. You can live in the generous present moment and allow Source to guide you. And when Maverick finally walked through that door, it was like the light bulb went off. And once he believed it, he could see it. Because the light bulb went off in his head, not in the barn, not in his eyes. It wasn't coming from the senses. It was coming from within. And I sat there and watched for the first time since I've had him. Well, I've had him almost 8 years. I saw him become more self-confident. And that was fucking cool, man. That was very cool.
That is very cool. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about how this is all part of our mental health. Every aspect of this, right? How we navigate our days, how we handle our emotions, how we move our bodies through the stress and all the things. And I love the conversation because I just went to a meeting yesterday at my chamber, and they were talking about mental health. And
no way.
Yes, that was actually the topic, which I'm hearing this topic come up more and more, and that's great. But then I'm sitting in that group, and a large number of people there at this. It's a monthly meeting the chamber has, and everybody's listening. But I can't help wondering, all right, how many are actually going to take this home with them? How many are going to do something with this now? Because it's great that it's a conversation, but it needs to be more than a conversation.
100%.
So many people are suffering right now. I'm seeing it constantly.
So many people, the door is open and they don't even know that they can walk through.
That's right. And are they having that conversation? Like we're having this conversation, like you were telling me what you were feeling. I came up with an idea. You felt it in your body. It felt right to you. We talked about why, but how many people are having those discussions and acknowledging where they're at, what they're feeling, being vulnerable enough to share it with someone.
100%.
Right. And then potentially getting a piece of information or maybe just a hug or a something that can, shed light on it.
Right.
And this is so important, people. And I'm saying this because I'm seeing it more and more, especially because this is now the job, the career, the life that I have chosen outside of the regular 9 to 5 of helping people with their mental health.
Exactly.
Through horses. And I tell you, I see it way too often that fine, people know about it. They're aware of it, but is it a priority to them?
It's got to be a priority. It
Gotta
has
be
to
a
be
priority. That's
because
right.
you
And so you
cannot take action if you don't see what needs to happen. And really, and Tony Robbins is all about action. Like we're at Business Mastery right now, and it's like, take massive action. But if you're and then he also follows it up. But if you're running to the east for a sunset, so for a sunset, see, I can't even get it straight. If you're running the wrong way, if you're going east for Albuquerque, and you're in New York, you got a problem. You can take all the massive action that you want. So it has to come from that aligned source. And when we're spinning around in our stalls and, and not seeing and not being able to slow down and mosey through and navigate these new things, because when you're so used to having momentum with your old patterns because they're unconsciously competent with you. So with a new pattern, you're going to have to slow down because it's not a 6-lane paved highway. It's a trail through the woods at best. And so you just have to take that a little bit amount of time. You and I have been talking about this pretty much all summer. And one of the things that's super important, and to your point about talking, I've done a lot of that this weekend. It's like, oh my gosh, that's okay. So let's bullet point this as to, okay, well, what's next? We have a great group. It's called Level Up. Now what? Well, I've leveled up and I need to do something. Now, what is that? And when the horses, we say, right, in the horse world, they say ride every stride. Right. So you're staying present in the moment as what's next, adjust, just like an airplane to keep it on course, right? What's next? And then you look at that and you go, okay, what's next? The next thing is that the message, especially if it's new information, and like at this aha moment I just had with Daniela, it's like, well, don't do anything just yet, Bella. You don't have to try 80,000 miles a minute. Is to get the message down to the feet. And if you're an extrovert, in order to get to an extrovert's mind, you have to get to their feet. And if you want to get to an introvert's feet, you have to go through their mind. And when you get that message down to the feet, an extrovert, it's like feet, mind, feet, right? To change their mind. But you got to move their body. Like if we tried to have a conversation with Bella and she hadn't told us the story about her dead cat and the 13 things that are going on in her world and all these other, if you don't take a few minutes to allow that, there's no room in the top for more coffee because she's already hopped up on it.
And I just want to say to anyone watching, whether it's now or on the replay, if you're struggling with making a decision or feeling a certain way, reach out to us, Jen or I. And if you're in New York or you're in the state of Florida, she's in the West Palm Beach area. I'm here in Chester, New York, the Hudson Valley. We can help you. We can work with you. And what we do is super simple, guys. It does not have to be brain surgery. It does not have to be difficult. And you do not have to have it all figured out in one day either. Like we can do this together one day at a time, one step at a time. And so if you are struggling with anything, just reach out because we're here. This is why we do these lives also.
Absolutely.
To help people, and as we're helping people, we're helping the horses. And so it's a win-win, but don't hesitate. Don't be afraid.
And that's it. Don't be afraid, because honestly, when you come here, we have fun. Wherever you are, like we're dominating the Eastern Seaboard at some point, trust me. But wherever you are, whether you're up north in New York and you're down here, either place, we have fun. I mean, they don't call it horse work. They call it horse play, and we go out and we play and we have fun because we learn best while we're having fun and while we're playing engaged, because our endorphins are higher and our dopamine's high and things, and our autonomic nervous system is relaxed, and just being around these horses and grooming them or engaging with them and understanding them and learning their language will put you in a state where you can receive this information and have these beautiful aha moments. And since I've moved here, I've been here less than 6 months, and it's been one of the most transformative experiences in my life. And I'm older than 5, most days. So it's incredible stuff, guys. We have unique life transforming experiences with horses that allow us to discover such beautiful things about our souls. So every Friday around the 1 o'clock hour, we most Fridays. We do have animals, so sometimes things come up, but most Fridays we're live around the 1 o'clock hour for Fun Coaching Friday. And make sure you reach out to Danielle or myself if you have any questions or want to get involved. Remember, the big piece is to believe in yourself. It will change your life. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on our socials and have a great day.
Bye.